As you look up the mountaintop, you can see where, as soon as President Biden signed the executive order to stop, that's where the wall stops.
Right there.
Anything you see beyond that is going to be a 5-wire barbed wire fence. That is the international boundary, is a cow fence. Right there on the ledge coming up to where that ridge line is, where the fence should be, there's a cartel spotter that sits up there. He essentially directs all the traffic that's coming across our border here. From that high point, he can see everything on that west side and on the east side. So you can see all elements of law enforcement, any response that's coming. And from that point, using a radio, he can direct and guide all of these illegal immigrants. He can direct it wherever he needs to in order to get around law enforcement. And that's the important part about the border here in Cochise County, is they're getting around law enforcement. They're coming across in camouflage. They're not turning themselves over. They're not seeking asylum. They are intentionally evading law enforcement to avoid capture.
Which is breaking the federal law.
Absolutely. It's not an easy path, as you can see. I mean, these are rock cliff faces that we're surrounded by. So it's not an easy path for an adult, let alone a juvenile that's being drug along, and the guide potentially not caring who he leaves behind. If somebody gets sick, if somebody gets hurt, that person gets left and abandoned with no contact, no way to get a hold of help, nothing like that. They're just left there. I mean, we recover bodies all year long of illegal immigrants that have been left behind and left to die. Get down! Because all they're concerned about is the dollar bill at the end of the day. When you meet these migrants, it's hard to imagine them having $10,000, $15,000 sitting in a bank account. All they know is they're coming to work and they owe $10,000, $15,000. Well, I don't know about you, but the cartel doesn't seem like your local bank, where they're going to charge you a little bit of interest, and once you're done, they'll send you a card for congratulating you. So they are working to pay off a debt that they may never get to the end of. And so that indentured servitude aspect is real troubling. And
modern day slavery.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not indentured servitude, that's modern day slavery.
Absolutely. Another aspect of the issue that we're having here in Cochise County is the Border Patrol stations here are being tasked with processing the give-ups, right? The large groups of migrants that you have in 3 Points, Yuma, Ajo, those large groups of migrants, they can't handle those numbers in those stations. So what's happening is Border Patrol is busing those migrants to our stations here in Cochise County for processing and for legitimate asylum claims. Well, once they're done being processed, they are led out the front door. So we're talking about the front door of Douglas and Naco, Arizona. Naco has 1,000 people and Douglas has 14,000, and they don't have the resources for the thousands of people that would be street released essentially into our communities down here. So what we've been able to do here recently is set up a funding line where we can bus those migrants to Tucson, to Phoenix, to nonprofits where they can actually get resources and get to where they're trying to go. The problem is that funding line is running out. So that's one of our big concerns, is now all of a sudden you're going to have all of these people who are at that point in the country legally being kicked onto our streets with no resources. A lot of these places don't have resources for the people that live here, let alone the thousands of people that are going to be released. I mean, and they're just let right out on the street at Safeway. They were using the Walmart parking lot in Douglas for a while. I mean, that's the reality that we're facing coming up, which is a whole different aspect than this. These aren't people that cross in this jurisdiction. They're give-ups from elsewhere.
Since we're processing, they're moving them from other locations to be processed here. They get assigned a court date, I assume, and it's probably way off.
Yes, sir.
Where's the court located that they have to be to report?
Most of the time it's with Tucson. It's their most local court. And the important thing to remember is they're not crossing the border and seeking asylum to stay in Cochise County or to stay in Tucson.
Right.
They're going to New York. They're going to Chicago. They're going.
We're about
are
100
piling up in
miles
Tucson.
from Tucson, right
Okay,
there.
all right.
Yeah.
I heard that the court dates were stacked out to 2030.
Yeah, I've seen 5, 6, 7 years out.
Even at the state level, we're looking to make sure that we can re-up those dollars, right? So that we can continue that program. Because if not, I mean, as we're just talking right here, you guys are it. I don't see a Border Patrol agent. I'm looking at
Have you seen one all day?
I've not seen one. And this is
No,
I
we've
gotta
been
tell you,
out
it's the
here
first time I've ever been on this border where I haven't seen one.
Well, and if I could mention, our Border Patrol agents here are outstanding. I mean, they really are outstanding guys coming out here and doing a very hard job very low reward
I
job.
don't mean them. It's
Yeah,
the
no,
hierarchy,
absolutely.
obviously.
But they're getting stuck doing all this processing
Right.
with all those coming from other stations. They're getting pulled off the line to go do that. It's not that they don't want to be out here; it's that they can't because of all of the
This is
massive
the
amounts of
federal
people coming
government's
across.
reasoning.
And we understand that technically this is a federal issue, but when it's directly affecting the people that we're sworn to serve and protect, that's when we have to take a step in and really do everything that we can.
So what you're saying is, if our funding dries up, it's going to be hard for you to protect this border.
Absolutely.